If you are trying to lose weight and there is a vital tissue in your body that keeps your metabolic rate elevated and acts as a strategic reservoir of amino acids that your immune system draws upon during illness, does it make sense to destroy it with your own hands? The research today is loud and clear. Muscle mass is one of the strongest predictors of survival outcomes in severe diseases, including cancer, regardless of its type or stage. The biggest problem we face after the age of 50 is that when we reduce our calories, which is necessary for fat loss, the body starts breaking down muscle alongside the fat. The standard ratio is that you lose 75% fat and along with it 25% of your lean muscle. The result you see on the scale might make you happy. You have become lighter. But the terrifying medical truth is that you have become weaker and your metabolism has slowed down disastrously. But adding just 1 spoon of MCT oil completely flips this cruel equation through 2 incredibly powerful mechanisms. The first mechanism, the BHB compound that this oil produces in the liver acts as an anti-catabolic shield. When your body detects a rise in ketone levels in the blood, it translates this as a clear signal. There is abundant energy available. There is no need to break down muscle to convert it into glucose. Consequently, precious amino acids like leucine, isoleucine, and valine, which would have otherwise been burned for energy, are protected. The second mechanism is truly astonishing. Ketones activate a cellular pathway known as mTOR. This pathway is the CEO responsible for muscle protein synthesis in your body. When mTOR is active, your cells build new muscle. Normally, this pathway is activated by the hormone insulin, but the problem is that insulin simultaneously gives another command: store fat. Here lies the miracle of MCT oil. It activates mTOR to build your muscles, but without spiking insulin, meaning you get the muscle-building signal and you completely bypass the fat storage signal. The definitive clinical evidence for this comes from a study by researcher Nosaka and his colleagues, published in the journal Nutrition and Metabolism in 2019. They studied 40 adults between the ages of 55 and 75, all suffering from noticeable muscle loss or sarcopenia. Everyone was put on the exact same calorie deficit diet and the exact same exercise routine. The only difference? One group consumed 14 grams of MCT oil daily. After 12 weeks, the results shocked the doctors. The MCT oil group lost 3.2 kilograms of body fat and simultaneously gained 0.8 kilograms of lean muscle. In contrast, the standard group lost 2.1 kilograms of fat, but they also lost half a kilogram of muscle along with it. The researchers confirmed these results using precise DEXA scans and direct muscle biopsies, which showed a 15% increase in muscle protein synthesis. Gaining muscle while simultaneously losing fat is something conventional nutritional science calls nearly impossible for people over 50. But this study achieved it with just 14 grams of this oil per day. Now we reach the fifth mechanism, which is the magical synergy with caffeine. Understanding this point will explain to you exactly why combining MCT oil, specifically with your morning coffee, yields a much stronger effect than using either one alone. Caffeine alone increases fat oxidation by about 29% in adults. How? Caffeine inhibits a specific enzyme which raises levels of a compound called CAMP inside the fat cells, and this in turn wakes up another enzyme called hormone-sensitive lipase. In very simple terms, caffeine knocks on the doors of your stuffed fat cells, opens them, and orders them to release their fat contents into the bloodstream. But here is the disaster. If these released fats are not burned at that exact moment, they will circulate in your blood and then be repackaged and stored as fat cells once again. You need an active and immediate energy demand to capture those fats freed by caffeine, and this is exactly what MCT oil provides. The ketones produced by this oil are the body's preferred fuel. The moment the fat is released, the liver and muscles immediately begin burning it. The metabolic demand created by ketone production acts as the incinerator waiting for the fat that caffeine just pushed out. When they measured this dual effect in research, they found that caffeine increased burning by 29%. MCT oil increased it by 25%. But when combined, the result was not just standard addition. The burning increased by 51%. We're talking about a multiplicative effect because the two mechanisms complete each other. One releases the fuel and the other burns it. This is why timing is everything. Drinking your MCT coffee as the very first thing you do in the morning while you are still in the fasted state you naturally entered during sleep ensures you capture all 5 of these mechanisms at their absolute peak effectiveness. Insulin is at its lowest. Glucose is not competing with ketones to enter the cells. Fat-burning pathways are wide open. And BHB levels, which naturally rose during the night, receive a massive boost from the oil. All of this happens at the exact moment when your stem cells, your metabolism, and your fat-burning systems are at their most responsive to this signal. All right, let's talk about how to apply this practically, because the protocol is critical, and there are specific mistakes that, if you make them, will wipe out most of the benefits, even if you get the basics right. The first priority is the type of MCT oil you use. Not all MCT oils are created equal. This oil contains different fatty acids known by the length of their carbon chain. We have C6. It converts quickly to ketones, but causes severe stomach cramps for most people and must be avoided. Then we have C8, or caprylic acid. This is the gold standard. It converts to ketones faster than any other component, and the stomach handles it perfectly. Then C10, slightly slower but effective and comfortable for the stomach. And finally, C12, or lauric acid. This acid acts like regular long-chain fat in the body. It does not convert to ketones efficiently and does not offer the same benefits. The problem is that most cheap MCT oil products on the market consist primarily of C12 because it is the cheapest to manufacture. When you buy the oil, read the label carefully. Look for pure C8 or a blend of C8 and C10. Completely avoid products that list lauric acid as the primary ingredient. Yes, high-quality products are more expensive, but the difference in metabolic effect is worth every penny. The second priority is dosage and gradual increase. Start with 1 single teaspoon, about 5 grams, on your first morning. Stick to this dose for 3 or 4 days. If you experience no stomach discomfort, raise the dose to 1 tablespoon, which is 15 milliliters or 14 grams. This is the clinical dose used in the Nosaka study. After another week, if things are excellent, you can increase it to 1.5 tablespoons. The maximum studied dose to achieve continuous benefits is 25 to 30 grams daily. Never exceed 30 grams. Why this gradual increase?
Because MCT oil is processed entirely inside the liver. If you overwhelm the liver's processing capacity on day 1, you will suffer from cramps, nausea, or diarrhea. This doesn't mean the oil doesn't suit you. It means you rushed it. 90% of people who claim their stomach cannot tolerate this oil simply started with a dose that was too high from day 1. The third priority is the most common mistake I see constantly, which cancels out a massive percentage of the absorption and metabolic benefits: emulsification. If you simply pour the oil into your coffee and stir it with a spoon, the oil will float on the surface. When you drink, you will be swallowing layers of pure oil instead of a homogeneous emulsion. Absorption will be poor, the taste will be bad, and the metabolic effect will be muted. You must use a blender. Use a small electric blender or a high-powered milk frother. Blend the coffee and oil for 15 to 20 seconds until the mixture becomes uniform and creamy, similar to the texture of a latte. This creates a stable emulsion where the oil droplets are broken down into microscopic particles coated by the natural compounds in the coffee, allowing for perfect absorption. An important extra tip: I highly recommend adding 1 teaspoon of organic grass-fed butter or pure ghee. This adds fats that boost satiety, incredibly improves the texture, and prolongs the duration of ketone production. It also provides your body with butyrate, a short-chain fatty acid that supports the integrity of your gut lining and the health of the stem cells within it. The fourth is the exact timing. Drink your MCT blended coffee within the first hour of waking up and before you eat anything. Then, ideally, delay your first meal for 2 to 4 hours. Don't force yourself to do this with difficulty. Most people find the combination of caffeine, MCT oil, and butter gives them extended satiety and mental clarity that makes postponing food incredibly easy. During this 2 to 4 hour window, your body is busy burning stored fat, producing ketones, protecting stem cells, and creating a highly hostile environment for the metabolism of cancer cells. This is your golden metabolic window. Protect it. Do not break it by eating food, especially carbohydrates, which will immediately release insulin and shut down ketone production. The fifth priority is what you must combine this routine with to get the maximum result. First, maintain a slight caloric deficit, about 300 to 500 calories a day below your maintenance level. MCT oil will increase your feeling of fullness, making this deficit easy and hunger-free. Note, remember to count the oil's calories as part of your day. 1 tablespoon contains about 130 calories. Do not add the oil on top of a calorie-dense diet and expect to lose fat. Second, add resistance training 2 to 3 times a week. This provides the mechanical signal your body needs to interpret the mTOR activity as a command to build muscle, not just maintain it. You don't need a gym. Body weight squats, resistance band exercises, and light weightlifting with compound movements are perfectly sufficient. Drinking this coffee 60 to 90 minutes before your workout will give you sustained energy without glycogen dependence, and you will feel strong throughout the session. Third, follow your workout with 20 to 30 grams of protein within 2 hours. This will provide the raw materials for muscle building. You do not need to do all of this perfectly from day 1. Start with 1 small teaspoon of C8 MCT oil blended into your coffee on an empty stomach. That is all. Stick to that for a week. Then add the butter. Then extend your fasting time. Build this protocol gradually over 4 to 6 weeks. Being 70% consistent in the long run is far better than being 100% perfect for 2 weeks and then giving up on everything. Now, let me tell you what you will feel and when you will see it, because managing expectations is what determines whether you continue or give up. In the first 2 weeks, you will notice an increase in morning energy and sharp mental clarity before you notice any change in your body shape. Ketones are the preferred fuel for neurons. Many tell me that their mid-morning brain fog, which they thought was just due to normal aging, has completely disappeared. This is real, and it is scientifically measured. It is the mitochondria in your brain cells responding to a higher efficiency fuel source. Your weight might drop a pound or 2, but that will mostly be water weight associated with a drop in glycogen. In weeks 3 to 8, noticeable fat loss begins. Expect to lose 1 to 2 pounds of fat per week. The biggest change will be visible in your waist circumference and belly. If you are doing resistance training, your strength will remain stable or even increase despite being in a calorie deficit. This is the muscle-sparing effect working efficiently. By the second and third month, something happens that sounds almost too good to be true, but it is documented in the research. Patients describe feeling like their energy has returned to how it was 10 years ago. This is not a placebo effect. This is because your muscles now contain 28% more mitochondria, with each one running more efficiently. Your medical biomarkers will begin improving. Triglycerides will drop by 15 to 30%. Good HDL cholesterol will rise, and fasting insulin will drop. These are the exact same markers that predict cancer risk, cardiovascular risk, and longevity. A very important medical note regarding safety. MCT oil is extremely well tolerated by most people, but caution is warranted in certain situations. If you have active liver disease, consult your physician first, because all processing happens in the liver, and impaired hepatic function can be worsened by high fat intake. If you have type 1 diabetes, you need medical supervision, because combining ketone production with insulin deficiency creates a risk of ketoacidosis. If you have type 2 diabetes managed with insulin or sulfonylureas, monitor your blood glucose closely. The oil improves insulin sensitivity, which is generally positive, but it can lower your blood sugar enough to require medication adjustments. If you are on the blood-thinning medication warfarin, monitor your INR, as changes in fat intake can affect vitamin K absorption and clotting parameters. But for the vast majority of people over 60, without these specific conditions, this oil is one of the safest and most evidence-supported dietary interventions available. Look, aging after 60 is not a sentence. The patients I have watched transform their metabolic health, who reversed a full decade of fatigue, who reduced their visceral fat, and who saw their inflammatory markers normalize, did not possess exceptional genetics. They were not doing something exotic or extreme. They made 1 or 2 specific, evidence-based changes to their daily routine, and they stayed consistent. What you have learned today is this. After 60, mitochondrial decline, stem cell depletion, and metabolic glucose dependency accelerate together and create the conditions for cancer, frailty, and metabolic disease. These processes are not independent. They share underlying mechanisms, and those mechanisms respond to the exact same intervention, elevating BHB through C8 MCT oil in your morning coffee. Start tomorrow morning with 1 teaspoon. Blend it for 20 seconds. Delay breakfast for 2 hours. Give it 8 weeks. Your mitochondria will rebuild. Your stem cells will be maintained in a healthier state. The metabolic environment that cancer cells exploit will become less hospitable, and the fat around your organs will begin to decrease in a measurable, clinically validated way. If this type of evidence-based analysis is useful to you, please subscribe to the Stronger After 50 channel and give this video a like. In the next video, I am going to cover the emerging research on intermittent fasting and how combining a timed eating window with the MCT coffee protocol amplifies all 5 of these mechanisms further. I will include specific data on what fasting does to cancer cell metabolism that almost nobody in the medical community is discussing openly. Comment below with your biggest question about the protocol, or let me know if you have tried MCT oil before and what your experience was. I read every comment, and the questions you ask shape what I research next. Keep investigating, and I will see you in the next one.